The definition of conviction is a firmly held belief. Leadership looks different for each person, but every leader has strong convictions that pave the way for how they guide their people. Whether you're an experienced leader, a current leader, a novice leader, or a soon-to-be leader, this podcast is a must for you. Through this show, you will hear leaders share their convictions, the struggles they face, and the challenges they have overcome by staying true to their convictions. Leadership can be hard and it can be lonely. I aim to connect you with leaders who have walked the journey and want to show others the way. This is Beau Vincent, and you're listening to The Conviction of a Leader. Welcome back to The Conviction of a Leader. I am here in Cancun live with Dave Williams. I'm so excited. Welcome back.
Yeah, glad to be here, man. It's been an awesome trip so far, day 2.
Yeah, dude, you kicked off season 2 of The Conviction of a Leader, and I'll tell you this. I think it was the most watched and well-received episode of season 2. So congrats, man. And I want to thank you for coming on. The advice you gave and just who you are as a person really resonated with people. So I wanted to bring you back on.
Well, I'm glad to be here.
Dude, thank you for joining. So what we're going to do today is I want to try a new concept that would be a smaller episode, something around 5-10 minutes that you could share on leadership advice that you've had to use recently that has really been effective in your companies, in your family, etc. So what really comes to mind when we talk about leadership as of late?
The first thing that comes to mind is, I think, taking self-reflection and inventory of what do I look like and how am I showing up as a leader inside of my business. So what I like to tell a lot of people, first and foremost, sometimes we're not where we want to be. If you talk to the average agent, the average business owner, we're really not where we want to be in our business. So what I like to tell people, because the common theme is, I just don't have the time. There's so many plates that are spinning that I have responsibility for. Where do I find the time for this? Where do I find the time for that? Well, I think it's, first and foremost, be where your feet are, like Craig says all the time. And then taking inventory of where are you allocating your time? Because what I find sometimes is certain areas of running a business are maybe intimidating for people to really show up as the true leader they need to be in their agency. So where do they try to, really exist the most, where they're most comfortable? And that might be in a sales role, that might be in a service role, it might be a training or coaching role. And because they're inside of their comfort zone, they're missing all these other key elements in their business. But if you actually just take a week and you're actually to draw down the center of a piece of paper, and set 4 alarms on your phone every single day for that week. So Monday, I got 2 hours into the day, take inventory. Where did I spend my time today? And write down on the top of the page, what is my time worth? Because I think a lot of times we're doing activities not realizing we're doing activities well below the value of our time. So if you're making $200K a year and you're putting 2,000 hours in full time into your agency, into your business, well, your time's worth $100 an hour. If you're making $400K a year with bonus, then it's worth $200 an hour. So you'd put $200 in the top of the paper. And what are the things that are on the left side of the page that are far below your pay grade that really at the end of the day you should outsource, that are well below that $200 time value? And then what are the things that you maybe dislike doing too? Because I find when we're doing things that we really dislike, it creates this sense of paralysis at times to get going. And then you do that every single day for 5 days straight. I guarantee you, anybody that does that exercise, anybody that does that activity, they're going to find at least 30% of time that they can free up, they can outsource, they can delegate to somebody else to spend their time where it matters the most. And that's usually in a lens of leadership. Somewhere.
Man, that's great advice. So that is actionable steps, which is exactly what we didn't even prep on this, by the way.
You could be meeting with your team. You could be coaching with your team. You could be, having those important conversations, all the things you say, hey, I'm spinning so many plates, I don't have the time for it. Well, you're putting your time into the hamster wheel that's not really giving you the ROI that your time deserves to get back, when you're spending it inside your business.
So I have a good question, because you talked about delegating things that you don't like, that you end up doing, and it really does time suck from you. It takes away from your happiness, your enjoyment, your fulfillment from that business. But you know what? The hardest thing I've learned that people have to learn to delegate, especially if they want to run a business and work on a business, is they have to, when do they pass off something to delegate that they love to do and they're extremely good at, but they know it is below that time level or that dollar per hour that they deserve to make for that. So how do you delegate something that you just love to do, or do you delegate it?
Yeah, I mean, if you love to do it, I think it's a fine balance. You know, maybe you lead it to the point where somebody else can love it and they can take over, and then you're living in it in a different capacity in your agency. But if it's in alignment, I think with your assignment, really where you need to be as a leader, and you love to coach and train, that's okay. Yes. If you love to invest in your people, having those, those teachable moments, whatever that might be from a leadership perspective, I think it really comes down to keeping the main thing the main thing.
Yes.
You know, when I talk to so many different people, they're focused on 20 different things. So their attention is divided so thin that nothing is getting any sort of momentum.
Right.
But if they keep the main thing driving revenue, and customer satisfaction, and they stay within that lane, that's when you start to see the needle move.
Yes. Yes. I like to say this: if I'm not investing as a leader, as a business owner, in people in some way, shape, or form, whether it's customers, employees, marketing, etc., my time is spent investing in other people and multiplying.
Oh, absolutely. And I think some of the times you got to ask yourself some different questions too. Like, why did I get into business to begin with? Because I see so many people that become entrepreneurs and they do it for the quote unquote freedom. But then they just, stay in basically a $12 hour role inside of their own business, and they're become a slave to their own business. And now they have more than a 9 to 5 because it doesn't, entrepreneurship doesn't stop at 5 and it doesn't start at 9. Right. But if you start to realize, hey, I got into this for what? Making profit. I got into this for impacting people. And I got into this for the freedom of it. Well, you start to look at things through a different lens. And what if you took your business and you looked at it from a lens, hey, how do I structure my business where I can have the autonomy and freedom? So I used to be that guy that was spending all the time, the business ran about me. And when I took a vacation or came to a Cancun or in a place like this, the cookie would crumble, the whole office would fall apart until I got back. But then I started thinking about things differently.
As an insurance agent, I know how important it is to stay on top of your business finances. Cash is the lifeblood of our business, and how you manage your finances impacts your ability to survive and to thrive as an agency owner. That's why I use Club Capital for my business's accounting and CFO advisory services. Club Capital provides business management services to grow your top line and manage your bottom line. Club Capital gives me monthly financial statements so that I have the data I need when making decisions with my Club Capital CFO advisor about my agency. So whether it's hiring a new employee, buying another book of business, or investing more in a marketing initiative, Club Capital helps me model out different scenarios to give me the information and the financial data I need to make the right decision to help my business grow. Click the link in the podcast show notes below or scan the QR code now to book a free, no obligation financial audit call. Mention the Conviction of a Leader podcast and get your first month of Club Capital free. That's right. Mention the Conviction of a Leader and get your first month of Club Capital services free of charge. Visit the link now to learn more.
Started becoming a master of every role into my business. We did the same thing even with Team Hired. Got into the role, hey, I'm going to be my best salesperson, but I'm going to find somebody that's capable and competent. And maybe I got to pay a lot more money for that individual, but they can get me to a place of freedom, which is my ultimate goal. And I can plug them in side by side. And once I get them to 60 to 70% of my proficiency, I move on to the next position, then the next position, and the next position. If you pay for the right people to put into the right role and you get them to 60 to 70% of you, because nobody's going to be you, nobody's going to be the business owner, right? They're not paid accordingly for that. But now at some point you can transplant yourself out and then let the machine run. And now you become a master of the machine. How can I lead better? How can I block and tackle better for my team? How can I, solve challenges, implement solutions that make them a lot more efficient.
Yes.
And then start to look at profitability. Because I think everybody I talk to, they're talking about, hey, talk time, we're talking about sales, but very few people talk about profit. And what's the whole purpose of actually starting a business? It's actually making a profit. So when's the last time maybe you took an individual employee and you ran a P&L,
see if this person is
down to an employee level? So if you took a look at, hey, you might have one producer, wow, that you think that's your best producer putting up 50 items.
Yeah.
And then you got another producer over here that's putting up 40 items, and you think the one doing 50, just because they're doing more, they're more profitable.
Yeah.
Well, no, what if you were to break them down like a P&L? What are they getting paid? What's their base pay? And what is their actual production? What's the average retention of their production? What are the lead sources and the cost of those lead sources? How many leads are they working compared to the person doing 40 items? Because you could have your person doing 50 items. They're taking triple the leads in order to get to that same outcome that the 40 item producer is. So who's actually more profitable? And then when you start looking at each individual employee as a profit center and looking at your business that way in a totally different light, well, now you're chasing profitability, and then you're chasing freedom in that same, that same stroke.
That's a good advice. So before we end, I want you to remind people how you've used this strategy to start multiple businesses. Just give them a rundown of, like, you started with the office and what he's referring to, because we do have a good amount of listeners that are not in insurance. So what he means by office is he had an insurance agency and he had that office, but he sold that, but he's created multiple businesses. Just give us a rundown of what you've started.
We exited that first company, and then we got back in on the independent channel, grew a large agency again with partners, did Team Hired, our recruiting company. We have a licensing boot camp outside of recruiting for that. We have appointment setters that we do all within that same company too. That's kind of a separate business. Ricochet 360 automated platform CRM system that's going live with Allstate here today, getting announced on Gateway. Jarvie, our automated training and hiring software that we got. But the way we're able to run so many businesses, we just got a great group of people that are around us, and we pay them accordingly. So when I look back at some of the people, what they're making, not getting into what they're making, but some of them are making 2, 3, 4, 5x what some people were making in my old insurance agency when we first started. So we started to find the value of bringing in higher caliber people and give them that competitive pay, but also make it performance based. So if the company is winning, if our customers are winning, I'm looking for a trifecta. Is it good for the company? Is it good for the customer? Is it good for the employee? And we can set up a winning comp plan that allows them to make more money than they've ever made before and actually make it feel like it's entrepreneurial. So the path that we have for a lot of our people, hey, what are you looking for? Well, I'm looking for freedom. Well, what if we could provide that for you either in a 1099 capacity, or what if we could provide that for you and help you run your own business? Or, we could give you maybe a small slice of equity for the select people that are really doing the wrong things. If you stick with us in the long run, that you could have a piece of equity in what we do too. So when we get the right people in place, compensated to the right place, in the right roles, with the right motivators that are in there, well, now it's like the business takes on a life of its own, and it's no longer, hey, David Williams is the one that's making everything run and tick. Well, that's being done by the team. And then, we can be the Oz, the wizard behind the curtain, that's just making sure to fine tune and tweak everything, coming in when there is a landmine that we hit as an organization, so to speak, to help them put out the fire and get things back on track and get the train back on the track. Or if we see a business opportunity, then we can lean in and scale on it and really keep our focus where it matters the most.
Awesome. Well, thank you for the advice. In 4 minutes, I have to go speak. And what I'm speaking on, which is hilarious because you mentioned it, it's actually called freedom. I'm speaking on freedom through delegation and training.
There's no better place to talk about freedom than right here in Cancun on the Mexican side of the Gulf of America. And
Gulf of what?
The Gulf of America. There's no freer body of water that I can think of.
So, Dave, I just want to thank you so much for coming on The Conviction of a Leader again. And this has been an amazing episode. And I think people will love your actionable steps. You had great advice. Make sure to take a piece of paper, track your time 4 times a day, divide it in half, take your pay. Take his advice and put it to work today. And I guarantee you will find freedom on the other side.
And remember, if things aren't, going the way they want them to go, and you're looking for the answer, like the bathroom's usually about 50 feet away, go in there, look in the mirror, because, that's what really was a game changer for me, is it always starts with me. The buck stops at me. When I look in the mirror and ask myself the question, there's no other reason why things aren't where they are. aside from me, that's when we can have true ownership, true accountability, and actually get true results that start shifting and changing the places and spaces that we're in until, we're living our best life. And
well, thank you. This has been a episode of the Conviction of Leader here in Cancun. And thank you, Dave Williams.
All right.
Appreciate
you, brother. Absolutely.
I love to coach and consult. And that is why I continue to open up more opportunities and spots for me to work with people like you. If you feel stuck and you need assistance getting past that, if you want to achieve things that you've never achieved in your career and through your business, I would love to speak with you for a free, no obligation phone call to see if we could work together. Because I've worked with over 100 individuals just like you over the last 2.5 years, and I have helped them achieve some of the greatest results of their entire career. And I look forward to working with you. So click on the link below for a free, no obligation consultation with me. Talk to you soon.